Welcome to Epic Mom Life. I am your host, Kara Peterson. This show is sponsored by The Possum's Tale, a unique book adventure for your 6 to 12-year-old child. Let's jump into today's show. Rhyme and reason, the many benefits of teaching poetry to kids. So many people hear poetry and get a really bad taste in their mouths. Poetry is more than just syllables and rhyming. When taught to children, children can get a deeper understanding of themselves, develop a better understanding of language skills, and expand their critical thinking skills. The benefits of teaching poetry to children are well worth the effort and that bad taste in your mouth. How does poetry help children with language skills? When children learn poetry, they are introduced to a variety of writing styles, structures, rhythms, and voice. Children are able to identify sounds within words, which can be helpful with spelling. Their vocabulary increases as they encounter familiar words that are used in a different context, as well as unfamiliar words that they can understand when they read it within the text. Children also expand their knowledge of figurative language like metaphors, similes, and idioms that further enriches their vocabulary. All of this, the learning of different styles and structures, paying attention to voice and sounds, and enhancing vocabulary and figurative language are the foundations to helping your child to grow their reading comprehension skills. Writing can be really formal with the sentences, the paragraphs, and punctuation. Poetry shows children a really fun way to write. There are different types with varying structures, stanzas, verses, and line breaks. Poetry also often has a rhythm to it that regular writing does not have. As children understand and learn these language skills, they become better communicators with the ability to express their thoughts and ideas. Does poetry help children become more creative? Not only does writing poetry expand a child's creativity, reading poetry can do this as well. The exploration of imaginative language, metaphorical concepts, and fantastical imagery inspires young minds to think outside of the box. Children see that written language can be a tool not just for communication, but for expressive thought. There are many types of poetry that allow children to express themselves and add their own creativity to the way the poem flows. One that I love is two-voice poetry. This has two people tell different parts of the poem. I have references for you in the notes. When children create their own poetry, they play with words, sounds, and ideas. They experiment with language, form, and structure to express their ideas and emotions. This expression, in its very nature, is creative and is not the norm. How can poetry help children grow emotionally? Poetry is a great tool for social emotional learning. The first step in SEL is to identify your emotions. The second is to manage them. Poetry is a great tool for actually both of these. It offers a therapeutic outlet for any emotion your child feels, even if your child needs to work out exactly what it is they are feeling through the words they write. Imagine teaching your child the nonet. The nonet is a type of poem. This type of poem has a specific structure. There are 10 lines, and the last line ends in a one-syllable word. There are a few more rules, structural rules, and I go into all of the types of poems next week. But what I love is that your child would spend 9 lines describing the emotions that are happening within them. They could talk about how they are feeling and how it is physically manifesting. Then that last line could be a simple word: mad, sad, joy, blue, fear, fab, etc. Growth mindset. Growth mindset, I think, is just a buzzword these days. You hear about it all of the time and how it is important for you to have a growth mindset and how you should be teaching this and instilling it in your children. Poetry gives your child several opportunities to develop a growth mindset. The emphasis on imagination and creativity means there is no right answer. Your child must take risks. Poetry is often unstructured. This leads your child to write in a way that challenges the established norms. Your child may be stepping out of their comfort zone. When you step outside of your comfort zone, this is one of the definitions of developing a growth mindset. And I just want to point out, poetry is great to teach your children. However, all of these benefits are the same for anyone. So if you want to work on your growth mindset and have no idea where to start, poetry, it's a beautiful thing. How does poetry help my child develop critical thinking skills? Okay, is typically how people say you develop your critical thinking skills in poetry. So I think many adults have that bad taste in their mouth and they dislike poetry or find it boring because they once had a teacher that had them analyze a poem and find the author's meaning behind the words. They picked apart the poem word by word. The very nature of the poem is to be enjoyed in its totality. There is a flow and a beauty in that. I would say it's an art form, but only in its wholeness. I do believe that the author worked and struggled with each and every word, every sound, so that it would seem easy and so that it would have that flow. But they didn't mean for you to pick apart those words. They wanted you to get the entirety of it. And I also believe that we can't possibly know what Poe, Hughes, or Dickinson were personally communicating behind their words. We can presume, but we cannot really know. So when a teacher asks you to dissect a poem or to find out what the author means, I don't really think that's the point of poetry. And many think that learns the critical thinking skills by doing exactly that. So instead, allow your child to find a poem that fascinates them. Have them tell you what they think the poem says to them. Do they think that what they feel from the poem is the same as what the author was saying to others, or what others may feel from the poem? What lines in the poem particularly grab them, and why? Is there any language that they find abrupt, beautiful, descriptive, vague, etc.? If you don't tell your child to think a certain way, or that a poem is designed to tell a certain message, but instead allow your child to tell you and then give you the reasons, you are hitting the proverbial jackpot on critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, and learning to find subtle messages. All of these are essential skills in life. Poetry can help your child feel on a different level. It can be difficult to teach empathy. Some would actually say that you either are or are not empathetic. Children see the world as right or wrong, black, during the pre-operational stage, which is typically between the ages of 2 and 7. Then they enter the cognitive operational stage between ages 7 and 12. As children are growing in these stages, it is easier for them to understand or experience a journey of another if it is told through a story, song, or poetry. Poetry provides a safe place to view, understand, and express experiences that may be different from their own, which is how you learn to express and feel empathy. Does poetry help with memory retention? Okay, can you think of anything more awful than having to find a poem, memorize it, and then recite it in front of others? I am hard-pressed to find something more tedious than this. However, do you remember the adages, practice makes perfect, or use it or lose it? Research is found, and I have all of the links in the notes for all of the things I'm quoting to you in this. Regular exposure to memorization tasks improves the brain's ability to retain information. This means that if children memorize poems and recite them, they are improving their memory retention. For my researchers out there, and I haven't looked this up, but this is the kind of thing that I think of when I see these, I am kind of curious, do we have more Alzheimer's dementia cases per population now than we did in the 1960s? If we do, is it because we simply live longer? Or is it because we have so much information at our fingertips that we do not have to actually remember anything? So we're not using it and we are losing it. We're not practicing it. I think that of all the times that I've been trying to retrieve information, like the group who sings a song, Rather than giving my brain a workout, I can just Google it. And that may be leading to our brain not functioning as well as we age. And I don't have any research for that. That's one of those things that if you know the answer, jump on and give me a comment. Poetry offers a unique window into the human experience. By engaging with the rhythm, emotion, and vivid imagery of poetry, children can explore their feelings, enhance their language skills, and sharpen their critical thinking abilities. Join me next week to learn how to actually teach poetry in your homeschool classroom. The kids' movie quote, will you join me in a little resuscitation? Poem, I should say. It's a charming invitation in the story, Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland.
If you are hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, I want to send you a huge thank you. Please leave me a comment or review and share with other moms you know. Get in touch in the comments or on Kara's social media networks. See you next week.